Before I say anything else, I want to start with gratitude. Gratitude for the trust that you've placed in me, and gratitude for the privilege of standing here in this moment together. When I think about leadership, I don't picture a title or a seat at the front of the room. I picture a circle where people are seen, heard, supported, and challenged to be better than they were yesterday. That's the kind of leadership I believe in, and that's the kind of year I hope we build together. My focus this year is simple, but it's not easy. We're gonna lift each other up, we're gonna be kind to one another, and we're gonna deepen our relationships with each other and with the community we serve. Kindness isn't soft, it's strong. It shows up when things are stressful, when opinions differ, and when pressure is high. It shows up in how we speak about one another, how we listen, and how we choose to respond. Alongside kindness is vulnerability, but before anyone panics, I do not mean the type of vulnerability where you suddenly learn way too much about somebody in a work setting and you're like, wow, that was definitely something I didn't need to know. And I say that with love and because I have 100% been that person who overshared, and the memory of that makes me cringe to this day. Thank you, JD. This is not group therapy either, I promise. What I mean is the kind of vulnerability that lets us say, I actually don't know, without feeling small. The kind that makes it okay to ask for help, to learn in public, and to grow together. In an organization grounded in professionalism, ethics, and accountability, vulnerability doesn't weaken us, it strengthens trust. It creates space for clearer communication, better collaboration, and stronger relationships. As most of us here know, real estate is fast-paced and heavy with responsibility. We deal with people's livelihoods, their future, their sense of home. That responsibility requires skill, yes, but it also requires humanity. And the way we treat one another inside of this organization sets the tone for how we serve everyone outside of it. That's why this year I'm asking us to be intentional about relationships. Not transactional relationships, real ones. Relationships with our members, relationships with our neighbors, and relationships with the communities that make Hawaiʻi what it is. And because we live in Hawaiʻi, the relationship between people and land cannot be separated. Which brings me to something I care deeply about, understanding culture. I have been to other tropical places and none feel quite like our home, Hawaiʻi. Our culture is special and it's hard to explain why. It's more of a feeling than something that can be defined. You feel it right here in your tummy, in your gut, in your na'au. It's instinctual. The real beauty of Hawaiʻi goes far beyond the surface. It lives in the aloha we share with one another and in the way we malama each other and this place. It's something to be respected and protected. We live and work in Hawaiʻi, which means we are part of a place with a rich history, a living culture, and a deep connection between people and aina. Long before modern real estate practices, land here was organized through ahupua'a systems that connected communities and natural resources from Mauka to Makai. These systems reflected balance, planning, and long-term care, principles that still matter as we think about housing and community today. The concept of kuleana, responsibility, is central here, and the idea of malama aina, caring for the land, is not poetic language, it's a practice. And ike, knowledge, especially the kind passed down through generations, matters. Understanding this culture matters because our work directly touches land, housing, and community. When we understand the history, we communicate with more respect. When we understand the values, we make better decisions. And when we understand the pain and resilience that's woven into this place, we show up with humility instead of assumptions. I want to share this next part with care. I am native Hawaiian, and like many people here, my relationship to culture hasn't been simple or linear. There were generations where Hawaiian language and history were not taught in school, and Hawaiian names were discouraged. I grew up lighter skinned and with features that didn't always match people's expectations of what Hawaiian looks like. This pointy nose of mine, for one, and without my dad, who was Hawaiian, consistently in my life. For a long time, that left me feeling like I didn't fully belong to the culture I came from. I share this because gaps in knowledge can exist even among people who care deeply. And I know I'm not the only one who gets thoughtful questions about culture, native plants, place, and how to show respect in everyday ways. The good news is that today there are more opportunities to learn, listen, and engage respectfully. Many of our clients are curious and genuinely want to understand how to be part of community here. I believe it's our role to meet that curiosity with care, context, and respect. You don't have to be from here to honor here, but I hope we're all willing to learn. This commitment to learning aligns directly with the strategic priorities of Hawaiʻi Island REALTORS. Among those priorities are strengthening professionalism, deepening community engagement, and clearly communicating the value of realtors in a responsible and integrity-driven way. I've personally always been curious about the world, but for most of my life I thought that was a flaw, like I was annoying everyone. I probably was annoying my older sister, Aloha. I asked her a lot of questions and I followed her everywhere. I wanted to be just like her. And somehow, here I am, still following in her footsteps as president of this association. But what I didn't understand back then was that curiosity was not just annoying, it's also a catalyst for learning. I wasn't always the best student in the traditional sense, but I loved understanding how things work, and thanks to my high school economics teacher, Mr. Kaetsu, I fell in love with the subject early on. Mr. Kaetsu's tests were the only ones I ever studied for, and I still remember walking into his class one day after a test everyone thought was brutal, and seeing my name up on the board as one of only 2 A's. Guys, I was over the moon. I can't even tell you. This kind of thing never happened to me. I was used to being that kid that was stuck in recess in the class being tutored. And no joke, my parents had to go to multiple parent-teacher conferences because my spelling was doo-doo. And it still kind of is. Anyway, later I did something most people would probably consider a little strange, especially for someone who wasn't good at school. I got my MBA from the University of Florida just for funsies. And honestly, I still consider those years some of the best of my life. Learning how systems work, how decisions ripple, and how strategy shapes outcome genuinely fascinates me. So yeah, you know that kid always asking, but why? That was me. And I would always follow it up with another, but why? And I hate to break it to you guys, but I have not grown out of that phase. I guess I will always be a student of the world, always learning, and I know this year will teach me even more. Curiosity has also led me to constantly ask questions like, how can I add value here? And how can I make this better for those who come after me? Those questions have ingrained themselves in my day-to-day actions, and I think this is why I'm sometimes told that I care too much or that I try too hard. And maybe one day I will, in fact, decide that I care too much or that I try too hard. But today is not that day. I know I can't save the whole world, but I do believe I can do my part. Just before my cancer diagnosis, I read a book called The Book of Joy. It centers on the idea that joy happiness, and empathy, even in the face of hardship, are choices. I'm grateful for that perspective because it shaped how I approach some of the hardest lessons in life. My battle with cancer, then losing my sister Aloha to cancer, and then walking alongside my mom through her own cancer treatment not long after Aloha passed. Experiences like that have a way of clarifying what matters. I often think of the time when I read that book, and I think it was meant to be. It taught me that part of moving forward requires accepting that we cannot always see the entire picture, and that sometimes it's necessary to place a little trust in whatever it is out there and choose hope and joy anyway. I'm still discovering what kind of leader I'll be, but I'm clear about the environment I want to help create. I've learned that excellence doesn't come from pressure alone. It comes from care and intention, from people feeling supported enough to stretch, to lead, and to grow within clear expectations and shared values. And yes, I want this year to be fun too. I love fun. I hope there's laughter in the room. I hope collaboration replaces competition. And I hope people feel genuinely proud of the organization they belong to. Imagine members who feel supported, a community that feels respected, and work that feels aligned with our values. Imagine trust built over time, clients who feel genuinely cared for, not just represented, and an organization known not only for professionalism and results, but also for aloha. That's the vision. We won't get everything perfect, but we will show up, we will learn, and we will lift each other when things get heavy. And we will hold ourselves to a standard that reflects who we are and who we want to be. So here's my invitation to all of you guys. This year, I hope you bring your curiosity. And no, it does not have to look like mine. I know I can be weird and I can get really nerdy, and sometimes my mother's tone of voice tells me that I'm being a little bit extra. Apparently, I'm still that little kid asking, but why? I hope you will join me in staying curious in your own way, in finding joy where you can, and in choosing to build real connections. Let's make this a year where people don't just remember what we've accomplished, but how we made them feel along the way. I'm deeply honored to serve with you, and especially grateful to our volunteers. I know how much time, energy, and heart it takes to show up in service, often behind the scenes and without recognition. And I know we recognize quite a few of our volunteers, but we didn't recognize all of them. So the ones that are here in attendance, could you guys please stand up? Thank you. Beautiful people. Please know that your efforts matter and you are seen and appreciated. I'm excited to grow with you all this year, and I'm excited for what we will build together. Mahalo, everybody.